Champion Speed. Their number 70 Mazda 6 is powered by Skyactiv Diesel, the first time a diesel-powered car has raced here.
Daytona. The weather is absolutely gorgeous today.
5 degrees. Those are some entire months.
This Daytona 24-hour race.
Well, that's one of the things you have to think about. Yes, you're right, but for season-long competitor,
that car lost that day.
And it doesn't take...
Get a little squirrely there.
Yeah,
so you'd have to think that eyes.
It's
in the paddock. The one common thread I hear is
able to run, dip into the 41s pro. The rest of the guys right there are at the 42-0.
Learn how to...
Now the 00 car, one of the cars in the new GX class. This is the Mazda 6 with Skyline diesel technology.
Beginning to play. There's the time we get to the end. On board the number 90 Spirit of Daytona, another one of the Corvette Daytona prototypes in the category. Richard Westbrook behind the wheel, and Westbrook trying to get to the finish line as soon as he can. Of course, that's a 24-hour race, but he's got a little something he wants to get home to.
Yeah, his wife, Jess.
One thing about it, I don't care how fast he drives, it's still going to take him 24 hours.
24 hours, that's right. He was concerned that anytime the radio crackled that they were going to tell him to pit for anything else, it might be call home when you get out of the car. But
reminiscent of overheating, I don't know.
GX class, which is really open to GT-style cars that do not really fit.
In the front to help with grip. Doors being shut. They're topping him off with some Sunoco fuel. Continental tires on. And he's away. He just stalled.
Looks like the 02 stop may have taken a couple of seconds longer, and he got leapfrogged in the pit there by the 10 car and the 6. So I think when things like shake out, he'll probably drop to the
class Mazda Speed 6s or Mazda 6s with their diesel and develop those technologies. Say.
Yeah, you mentioned the operation is, and they've done extensive dyno work, but because the car was held up.
Off to give me probably the best portion in this field.
70 slow once again. Sylvain Tremblay, one of the Mazda 6s that his company Speed Source built.
I mean, I really think that we should look at this in a very and Speed Source and the drivers. They've got some amazing young drivers. Tristan Nunez on the team. So this is part of. I don't think Sylvain will be surprised by this. He'll be disappointed, but you know, this is part of what they could expect when you only finish a car as you pull it off the trailer.
No question, they brought one car. 6s, but he is fierce and fast in a race car. On board, Wayne Taylor Racing, and his brother Jordan, who was in the 10 car.
Clear. This corner, as you go up onto the banking here, you know, Tony, as a driver, it's one of the most instant sort of evaluations of your corner exit you can ever have, because you've got this long straight and you know exactly by the revs where you are as you upshift how well you exited. And of course, it's really a great taking maneuver down into the bus stop. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that final turn there onto NASCAR 2, 1, 2.
You can see how they bang over the curbs there in the bus stop. A lot of, I mean, you have to because of the pace of this race, but a lot of wear and tear on the chassis using that much curb. Look how relaxed he is holding the wheel. The banking, even though it's not difficult from being on the limit standpoint, a lot of load through the body, especially taller guys like Ricky. Your knees are bent, your hip flexors. It's something you don't think about physically. This race is much more difficult than Le Mans from a track standpoint. Obviously, these cars don't pull the G-force of an LMP1 car, but there's really no rest for the body.
Off to give me probably the best portion in this field.
70 slow once again. Sylvain Tremblay, one of the Mazda 6s that his company Speed Source built.
I mean, I really think that we should look at this in a very positive. Speed Source and the drivers, they've got some amazing young drivers. Tristan Nunez on the team. So this is part of. I don't think Sylvain will be surprised by this. He'll be disappointed, but you know, this is part of what they could expect when you only finish a car as you pull it off the trailer.
No question, they brought one car here, unpainted. He has a look about him that might be described as bookish with his glasses, but he is fierce and fast in a race car. On board with the 90, Wayne Taylor Racing, and his brother Jordan, who was in the 10 car.
Clear. This corner, as you go up onto the banking here, you know, Tony, as a driver, it's one of the most instant sort of evaluations of your corner exit you can ever have, because you've got this long straight and you know exactly by the revs where you are as you upshift and overtaking maneuver down into the bus stop. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that final turn there onto NASCAR 2. 1, 2.
You can see how they bang over the curbs there in the bus stop. A lot of, I mean, you have to because of the pace of this race, but a lot of wear and tear on the chassis using that much curb. Look how relaxed he is holding the wheel. The banking, even though it's not difficult from being on the limit standpoint, a lot of load through the body, especially taller guys like Ricky. Your knees are bent, your hip flexors. It's something you don't think about physically. This race is much more difficult than Le Mans from a track standpoint. Obviously, these cars don't pull the G-force of an LMP1 car, but there's really no rest for the body.
From that team. Very tough debut in the GX class. Sister car, the 70, taken behind the wall from Ganassi Racing, and heads back out to Jamie Howe with the 90 car.
The 90 is also in, and Ricky Taylor will be staying in the car. So also just took the opportunity to pit, so pit lane is getting a little bit busy right now. We've got GT cars, the number 57 in GT that was leading in class. They also just made a pit stop. John Edwards did stay behind the wheel. We're also expecting the number 10 from Wayne Taylor Racing to be making a pit stop on this lap. These are all routine stops right now. Teams running through their paces. All of the stops have been quick. Nothing out of the normal. Fuel and tires.
Ricky Taylor staying on board. Looks like he loosened his belts up. There might have been some confusion about whether or not he was staying in the car or not. With the pit lane speed.
We're back at the Rolex 24-hour at Daytona, where unfortunately for Mazda in the GX category, there are not one, not two, but three of the Sky Active.
Ourselves to continue to get better. We could have picked a shorter race to start this project in, but we picked the Rolex 24. We've had some issues, some growing pains in the program. A couple of the cars will not be able to continue. We lost cylinders in the motor, but the 00 VisitFlorida car will be back out. So the guys are continuing to showcase the 2014 Mazda 6, which is now hitting dealerships all across the U.S. We also are able to showcase Sky Active technology, which is Mazda's way of being more efficient with lighter weight and more efficient engines, transmissions, lighter weight bodies. And so we're really pleased to be able to present the whole suite, help launch the new Mazda 6 in the marketplace. We're just going to keep fighting. That's all there is to it.
We have a full year to watch that fight continue. The 00, as John said, will be back out.
Word from the Ganassi camp.
Yeah, guys, if we remember back to that last pit stop when we saw Jamie Mack get the 02 car, they did tires and fuel on that car. Where the 01, they left Memo Rojas in the car. They did not change tires, so those are double stint tires on that car. Tim Keene saying everything's fine, it's just the tires are a bit worn out.
Button, the lights are one thing and the limiter is another, but that is what you would see if the limiter was on, obviously, at almost 200 miles an hour. The speed limiter.
This infield was the headlights going on and off as you're looking for an apex. That would have been a much bigger issue.
You know, and from Memo Rojas, he doesn't know that this isn't intentional. He's thinking, do you think he doesn't know that his headlights are flashing?
He can't hear it. There's a little bit of a raised eyebrows around the paddock about the fact that Juan Pablo has been a little bit of a liability here at Daytona, tends to run into his competitors with regular abandon, and suddenly they put him in the 01 who had just gone for the championship. But Timmy Keene said, I can handle one. I've got to talk to him. I've got to stay on top of him. He is mean fast. I want him in my race car. I wanted him this year.
Well, and they feel like Juan, too, if he is in the car that's going to run for the championship, maybe he'll be a little bit.
He knows a lot of the boys out there, certainly the front.
There is no quit in this young man.
Huge win. And
throughout the entire broadcast at this point, North American Endurance Championship. Those three races combined, a championship within a championship, and great to 24.
Thank you.
It's a lot warmer here than it is in New York State right now.
Yeah, it was only 5 below.
I gave up. I gave up.
Refreshingly surprised. The fan base up there is unbelievable. I remember, I mean, I'm going to boast now, little family thing. My dad, the fan support up there was unique, and I guess you still live off that now.
Last year we did
one car. He
fit in.
And to see Lewis's girlfriend, that's how it goes.
Yeah, well, he dumped her. But anyway,
live in the area.
Yeah, we open it up. Fort Drum has 22,000 soldiers that have been deployed to Afghanistan, and 18,000 of them were back home last year. And so we invited them all down for free to join our event. And I tell you what, not only that, but we had the largest attendance we ever had for the Grand Am event.
I think the most important thing is we've all been there for years, and we remember Watkins Glen of 10, 15, 20 years ago, but the Watkins Glen improvements that you guys have made.
The capital improvement, again, we put $33 million in our last 8 years, so you're going to see some improvements, and that's what we want to do. The fans are first, the media, the corporate sponsors, they all play such a huge role, and everybody, you guys, I mean, just you guys make our sport. Speed TV has done nothing but such a big support for our teams, and I mean our team is our sport, so we can't be more grateful than what you guys do.
Well, thanks for dropping in and visiting. I know you want to get back down and see the sights and sounds of what's
just like this 500-mile race. Who knows how many.
And whoever's rubbing is getting thinner and thinner. You can see the glow off the headers. We saw it in the back of the Starworks car. You can see it there.
They did it first. They on the dyno from Richard Childress Racing, they were playing with exhaust systems, and these exhaust header pipes aren't that big. But take a look at the exhaust out pipe on that, and they're up to 5 inches. Like 5-inch exhaust is like monster. That's what I have on my boat. So I know it's hard to get pieces for it. But I mean,
the machinist that makes a lot of the parts. He says he's a machinist, but a lot from last year. The new generation cars were untested. They had some trouble, but you know, Chevy has really come. All those guys are factory shoes. Westbrook, Gavin, Garcia, and they've. I talked to Gary Pratt today. He says, you know, the Spirit of the Daytona team, we offer help to everyone.
Tell you what, let's take a Daytona prototype.
Daytona prototype win last year at Barber Motorsports Park in Troy. Right now, we've been watching the 90 car on the racetrack. Looks like maybe a broke.
Going, if we get some time under yellow, we'll look and maybe make a run at the Daytona racetrack. It's not the greatest one for us right here, right now. So we're working really hard on the aero package. We work our tires now.
Well, like Tommy said, it's going to keep getting thinner until.
Safety is really #1 at this point. I mean, they got a lot of time to recover. Let's not do anything silly.
Back to my point about other drivers, the levels of experience and ability in this race.
You wouldn't think that for something underneath, but maybe you have to access it that way.
Yeah, go down from above.
Those exhaust pipes, they've got to be well over 1,000 degrees, and you can see it in the crew member's face when they were grabbing hold of them, trying to shake them and see what was loose on there. Lots of pain as they were grabbing those exhaust pipes, and I really didn't see them fix anything, so it's going to be interesting to see what they get back out on track and something still is dragging.
One thing that happened,
maybe, you know, I expected him to be a little bit more like a cat.
Quite the bargain, and we look very forward to promoting Grand Am.
Great. That's Bruce Knox, executive.
These guys never.
And I think that was the secret.
To think, okay, we're in the home stretch right now, and this is the time to get aggressive. It really isn't yet. When the sun comes up, and it's been up for a few hours now, but when the sun comes up, you've got a Petite Le Mans to run. You've got 2 Indy 500s worth of distance to run. And so that's the job of the drivers to keep their heads in. And if the drivers aren't, the team to kind of extra risk is not worth it at this point.
Looked like a couple of little rub blocks and developed into something that obviously was much more.
Saying, not sure I feel up to doing this.
It's Alex Figge, and I had said yesterday that.
I mean, that really is. I mean, I've only said that once when I had heat stroke.
Some of the issues you face when you get out of the car, you've got to get some food in you. Some people do better stomachs with, you know, with endurance stuff. You know, some people in marathons and so forth, they have a stomach where they just can't keep food down, and so it compounds itself. So, and that's why this race is so tough. I talked yesterday about how it's tougher physically than Le Mans because there's just no break here. There's so much traffic. It's just a much tougher race physically than Le Mans for those reasons.
Riding on board the 90 of Richard Westbrook, trying to press forward, doing battle with the 10 in front. Did he get a call?
In laps to come, because that splitter looks strong. We've seen the damage that's been made in GT cars, but he just really made a mistake here going in. He did not see the car on the inside or misjudged it, and I mean that's a landscaping job on the way through there.
And the problem is the sand there is very, very fine silt, and it can get packed into the radiator. You'll see him a lot of times take the air on. You can see the crews right now working on it. It gets packed in there, and as the heat
Not
of
to
the
mention
day
the air box.
and dirtier and dirtier. Gavin back underway now. But like you said, you may not see the pitch with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob. Ollie Gavin just getting out of that car, handing over to Jordan Taylor's older brother, Ricky Taylor. And Ollie, you guys track. Did you get that all fixed up?
Yeah, we did. That was actually when you're in the car and you're driving it wasn't having too much of an effect on the way the car handled. it was just a bit of a sort of like a light display behind, you know. It was just a lot of sparks. I think it was something that people were a little bit concerned about, but we managed to fix it up. We've had another couple of things with a misfire, and we've had to disconnect something just to stop that. So not got any gear on the dash now. Antonio also had another little issue, which he dealt brilliantly with. But during the night, the car handled pretty well. We're just maybe seeing a little bit of a change in the car now with the temperature warming up, but we'll see.
I remember listening to you guys yesterday during the daytime hours not being happy with the handling of that car. So are you guys going to do anything in these last couple hours to try and settle it down as the track warms up?
Yeah, I think we might have to address that. I drove the car briefly just a few minutes ago, and it wasn't ideal. It was a bit of a handful, and so we're looking at that, seeing how Ricky gets on, and then we'll put Antonio in next, and then Richard to finish.
We're going to let Ollie Gavin get some rest. He's only gotten a couple hours of sleep last night.
He has done. It's been all about attrition, Dorsey.
This is the first of the Sky Active diesels to handle the sister car, and this is Sylvain Tremblay. Speed source.
Let's keep digging.
We can still
do
win
this.
for this. It's a good idea.
Ball with Ricky Taylor. What an impressive young man. Startling start to his Daytona prototype career, and then mid-year, I'm sure he doesn't want us reminding him of this. Boy, did he have a rough patch, Dorsey. The car was quick, clouded the pit wall coming out of the pits at Detroit, had the spin under caution at Road America whilst in the lead, and that really rocked his confidence, but he bounced back big. They won the final round of the championship at Lime Rock Park, and then he moved on to this new team for this year, and he and Westy are going to be a real threat for this championship.
I noticed something on that shot with rally drivers. Now, you think of a sport where there's dust and smoke and dirt, carbon, and stuff flying everywhere. Race drivers, when they're concentrating fully, don't seem to blink their eyes a lot.
They don't. It's amazing because I've seen my onboard camera of myself, and you're not cognizant, you're not blinking, and you're so reading it. Watch his eyes. He is completely looking where the car's going to go next, and he's not even conscious of not blinking, but he can go for a long, long time like that. It's amazing. When I tried to wear contacts and drive, I couldn't do it because the wind got in the contacts and made me keep blinking. But without them, not a problem. Of course, I couldn't see.
Young men, despite their youth, and if you've ever tried to launch a young racer into a professional career, you'll have some idea of how much Wayne Taylor has done to support his sons, Ricky and Jordan.
We've known these guys since we were kids and came through Skip Barber and stuff, and they have come so far, and they've done such a tremendous.
Chris.
Well, Ricky Taylor getting the 90 car back, 10-second longer stop.
That he says it takes a little bit for the car to get going on cold tires, but once it settles in, they've got clearly the superior speed to everybody else. It's interesting to see. So now we pretty much have an idea what it's going to come down to. They're going to try to get Allmendinger in the 60. They're going to put Hoya into the 01. You're going to, looks like,
and if into their drivers. And what you hope is that the drivers, I want to know who that was, but you know, it can lead you to try to do stupid things, and I hope we don't.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these things now, and Martini from the old days, I think we'll look at Rum Bum as some of the most iconic looking cars.
So on board the 90 Spirit of Daytona Corvette, Antonio Garcia behind the wheel. It could be just a camera location. You don't hear it quite as much on the Daytona prototypes as you heard it on the GT cars.
I think that was just a very messy lap as well. When the car in front is throwing up gravel and stones, it just amplifies the noise. But actually, you know, Garcia, he actually only ran the exit left-hand curve, which you do every lap. If you go 6 more inches to the left, then you run the hole, and then you start beating the car up.
On board the 90, that's the Spirit
car going around the racetrack, and I initially thought that maybe it had a header issue, or maybe it was even down a couple cylinders because it just sounded so bad as it was coming.
Active diesel powered car, they have trouble. They fixed it. It broke down again. Then the mothership of all of them, of course, that's Sylvain Tremblay. Speed source.
Strategy may play a part. Side by side here as the Audi gets to the inside.
On board with Richard West.
Lap times, and they had track position before. So what are you hearing on